welcome to Let's Talk Diz, a show that gives you everything you need to know to help make your Disney vacation as magical as can be in just about 20 minutes. I'm your host, Jeff Coviello. With me each week is Disney Master Sandy from Easy Diz by Instant Impressions Travel Services. Sandy, how you doing tonight?
I'm getting hungry again, Jeff.
Well, listen, I know that you're very excited that this is returning. It has returned. Break it down for us. What are we talking about tonight?
We are talking about Akershus Royal Banquet Hall. And I saw what you did there. You didn't want to figure out if you were saying it correctly or not correctly. The name of that restaurant is widely debated.
Well, I've heard you say it about 1 million times. So even if it's wrong, I'm just saying Akershus like you say it. So somebody can correct both of us. But finally,
back.
Finally,
we have waited
yes.
a long, long time for this. We know that Princess Dining is something that we get asked about all the time. Disney, if you're listening, we still want 1900 Park Fair and Trattoria El Forno back. We're getting close to all of the dining returning. This one was a major step in a minor way.
Well, and as you said, right, if there's anybody that's coming to Walt Disney World that is like, I've got to meet the princesses. You know, my buddy Chris, who you worked with, was like, what do you want to do? All the princesses. My daughter just wants all the princesses. So this would have been an experience that you, as their travel specialist, if it fit within their budget, absolutely would have sent them to, but it wasn't available. Now it is available. It is back, but is it back the way that we, folks that have experienced it before, or folks that have heard about it before, is it the same that we once knew it?
It's the same conceptually, because let's be honest, you're going to meet the princesses. That's the number one thing that people care about.
Right.
But the layout of how it works for meeting the princesses, selecting food when it's available, is all changed.
Explain that to folks that have no idea what you're talking about.
So one of the things that I loved about this is it was princesses all day, all the time. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. We could get so many families in to see the princesses.
Right.
Currently, it is dinner only. And again, we've talked before about Disney's definition of dinner time. This one actually has a pretty brief dinner seating, unlike what we'll find in the Magic Kingdom, because they always cut off with that 9 o'clock for Harmonious. So dinner, 4:15 to 8:05. That is the extent of the seating, just under 4 hours. I'm told that they're going to hopefully get breakfast and lunch back, that with some of the changes, they're waiting to see what kind of feedback they get and really kind of ramp back up to 100%. I'm optimistic that we're going to see lunch before we see breakfast, because the website happens to read, enjoy Norwegian-inspired fare for lunch and dinner. Currently only serving dinner.
Well, I mean, the 4:15 by some folks' standards could be lunch, right? But you're right, by Disney standards, the 4:15 to 8:05. That's a very brief.
Correct.
That's a very brief dinner window. I mean, we see some dinners at 10:30, 11 o'clock.
Right. We would normally see like an 8 to somewhere between 10:30 and 11 for breakfast,
right.
And go right into lunch from 11 to 4, and then go right into dinner.
So as folks are coming to you, obviously this is something that, as a travel specialist, you're going to have your finger on this pulse, and, you know, at an incredible rate, to know when we bleed into that lunch and hopefully that breakfast time frame. But for folks that are planning something very soon, just be aware right now we're only looking at dinner.
Correct. And with no meal plan, a lot of people prefer breakfast when there's no meal plan, because it's typically a less expensive meal.
Sure.
So with dinner only, there's not a lot of choices here.
Well, let's talk about the cost then, right? Because folks that have experienced it, like you said, they may have done it for a meal that's no longer offered or that's not currently offered. So what's the cost looking like?
So you used my word that I'm going to talk about before I actually answer your question.
Great.
I call this experience dining. Think of it like dinner and a show.
Right.
You're paying a premium because you don't want to wait in line to see 5 princesses later. So it is on the higher end for dinner and for what the meal is. It's $63 ages 10 and up, $41 ages 3 to 9. And those little ones under 3 can share because it is an all you care to eat experience. And those prices I gave you are without tax and tip included. So again, a family of 4, assuming 2 kids between 3 and 9, you're looking at $210 plus tip and tax. It's not an inexpensive dinner, but it's an experience.
The reality is not everybody that's going to Walt Disney World is looking for Disney princesses. That's not what everybody's doing. So maybe that would dictate whether this is an experience that you want to spend time for. If you're not somebody that's going to spend time waiting in line to meet the princesses, well, then that's not really a bonus for you, right? So just be aware, talk to your travel specialist, figure out what it is. But there are plenty of people that's definitely what they're looking for. So the question that's definitely on everybody's mind, we're talking about the princesses. Who will we see there? Who are we expecting to see at this experience?
And that is a great question, because it is a little bit of a mystery. We know you will see princesses. My night, I had Belle, Snow White, Jasmine, Ariel, and Aurora. Oddly enough, we didn't really talk about where this restaurant is.
Right.
But it is in Epcot in the Norway Pavilion. And what I can tell you is that the characters will sometimes vary. We've had Mulan when we're there. We've had all kinds of different princesses. But the 2 that you will never see there, strangely, since it's Norway, Anna and Elsa will never appear here. So kind of confusing. It's the Norway Pavilion. You would think we've got Anna and Elsa. We do not. If you're booking it to see Anna and Elsa, well, I can't guarantee who will be there. I can guarantee who won't.
Well, and that's a very big deal, especially for folks that know this is in Norway. That's very surprising to some folks that are listening right now. They're going, "What do you mean they're not there? It's where they live. How could they not be there?" Right? But
because they're right next door in their summer house. They can't be in 2 places at once.
I thought it was a summer house. That's what I thought it was. I wasn't sure.
It is summer house, but I get made fun of often when I say it correctly. So I thought I'd go for the common pronunciation tonight.
Well, when you call me out in the beginning saying I don't want to say Akershus, I have to call out the summer house reference. That's just how it goes. So
there you go.
So you're meeting these princesses. Obviously, like you said, there's no guarantee who it is. There is a guarantee who it is not. When you're meeting them and you have the dining experience, what else goes on? What else are we having happen during the experience?
So again, if you've dined here before, similar to dining in the castle at Cinderella's Royal Table, it used to always start with one princess in a posed location, and that princess never moved, and everybody stopped there. They don't have that happening right now. All of the princesses are rotating through the tables. They do every about 30 minutes, do a little special sound blip, and then begin a dance party.
Oh.
So it was really neat. The princesses did rotate through the rooms, dance with the kids, get some of the kids up from their table if they were willing. And it was great to have that true interaction. It wasn't, stand 6 feet away, snap the picture, move on.
So when you say dance party,
experience.
When you say dance party, we're not talking some formal music hits and the princesses are dancing and we're watching them. This is an interactive experience.
It is an interactive experience, but I will say, while it is a dance party, it is probably the quickest dance party I've ever seen on Disney property. Probably about 90 seconds to 2 minutes each time, but a great little fun time for the kids to get up. And that's in addition to each character coming to your table.
Whenever you go to these character experiences, whether it's something at Chef Mickey's or in this wonderful experience at Akershus, the one thing that comes to mind as a child and then as an adult are photographs and autographs, right? Are those experiences something that we're having here because those are core memories for folks that when they were a kid, now they're bringing their own kids. Is that something that the princesses are doing too?
They are back in full form, so you're getting all of those opportunities to get the picture close up, to really talk to them. And I have to say, they do such a phenomenal job of being the real Jasmine and the real Snow White. If you have kids who are of the age where they're not really sure what they think, maybe that 8 to 12-year-old, let them ask some questions. Jasmine and I talked all about the trouble that Abu got into that day. And Ariel came to my table, and they had just put down my food probably a minute before she came, and there was a big serving fork because it is family style dining. And she got so excited, and she grabbed the fork and she held it up and went, "A tingle! Let me fix my hair." She brushed her hair and then did call the server over and ask for another dingle hopper for our table that wouldn't be used. But again, it's not, let me take the picture, let me sign the book, let me move on. They really want to have conversations with you. The table across from me had what I'm going to guess is a 15 to 18-month-old and a 4-year-old. And of course, Mom was having a tough time keeping the 4-year-old in her seat as you could see the princesses coming over.
Sure.
And so they each went right to the 4-year-old and were talking to her and doing a picture, and she was jumping up and down. And then in some cases, the child said, "Come meet my brother." And in other cases, the princess said, "Oh, can you introduce me to your brother?" And so they really are spending time at each table. I will say they were not seating to 100% capacity, which does allow for some longer interactions, but they will engage as much as you would like to engage them. So think about what you know about them, what you're wondering. Snow White was talking about cleaning the house and how difficult Dopey was being this morning. He just couldn't get anything right. And, you know, do I have days where that's how things feel? And so you really can walk through all of those different options and really make it a memorable time, not just about, hey, we went and had dinner.
Those things are why the price tag are what they are, right? Because you are getting the experience, as we've said countless times at this point. You know, we talked about the cost, so let's break down the menu. You know, you mentioned it's all you care to eat. It's not a buffet, as some people may have assumed, but let's break it down. What are the options here for folks?
And again, I think people assume that because the old menu started with a buffet of appetizers, right, and then you ordered a main course. Now, as I said, it is family style. It begins with a field green salad. Again, it's Norwegian, so lingonberry vinaigrette. If you don't want the lingonberry vinaigrette, they will happily put it on the side. If you've been on the new Disney Wish, you're going to recognize the famous Norwegian meatballs. So our platter was Norwegian meatballs, grilled salmon, red cabbage, mashed potatoes and gravy, green beans, mac and cheese. And also, when they brought out the salad, they did it as like an appetizer course.
Sure.
Along with a lefse, which is like a thin, crepey kind of pancake with a special cinnamon butter that was delicious. They really should have taken the butter away from me sooner. And then 2 desserts come out, again, family style. And again, I think we know that Disney does a lot with food banks, and they're very conscious when they do buffets and all you care to eat of not being wasteful. So the portion that comes out is definitely adequate. It's enough for everybody to taste everything. And then you can ask for another plate just the same way, or you can say to them, "We really don't like meatballs. Could we just get salmon and mashed potatoes and mac and cheese?" Or whichever parts you want, and then they'll bring it out in an adequate portion for your party size. They'll bring it out a 3rd time, a 4th time, whatever you want. So eat until your heart's content.
When we do these shows, we talk about the allergy-friendly options. You know, we talked about it when we talked about the party. This is no exception, right? The rule applies here as well. So if you heard that menu and you're like, well, how can I possibly eat any of that? Yeah, you can. There are plenty of options here.
Definitely break down the allergens for you. So many of those items cross into being very safe for many of those allergens, but they do have a couple of extra items on their allergen menu: a plant-based vanilla gelato, a plant-based bratwurst. Things like the salmon are good for most allergies. The meatballs are good for many allergens. And again, everybody who has that allergen sensitivity has it to a different level and different concerns about cross-contamination and such. But things like green beans are pretty good for everybody.
Okay, so we're coming to the point in the show where we discuss what we have not yet covered. What are the things you want to leave folks with as we close the show tonight?
I think there's a real common misconception that reservations rule the world. And while you do want to make your dining reservations 60 days in advance, or maybe take advantage of that new walk-up feature, which is not easy to do on character dining, but occasionally, you still must have a park ticket as well as a theme park reservation. You can't just say, here's my dining reservation, let me into Epcot. Because they have no way of knowing, are you just going to the restaurant and coming back?
Right.
So don't be disappointed by thinking you don't need a ticket because you have that reservation. And again, remember that characters are never guaranteed. Sometimes they get a little creative. I remember we were there one time and Mary Poppins was one of the princesses we met. And normally if you said to me, list the princesses,
Mary Poppins
doesn't come into mind.
No, not at all.
Mulan was there. She's a princess. But again, I would be very careful on what you promise your child. Don't promise Jasmine's going to be there because you just don't know. But it's a great time. And again, if you're going to get in line to see these characters and wait for photos and autographs, I always say, I hate to talk about it on vacation, but economy of time, you're going to eat and get 5 characters all in one time. That's going to leave you more time for rides and shows and other things.
Well, and I think it's also core memory season, right? These are the types of things that your kids just remember. They remember those interactions. They remember Ariel taking that fork and running it through her hair and then having to get another fork because Ariel mistook it for the dingle hopper. So I appreciate you going down there as this thing has returned. It's really exciting, especially for folks that make princesses a big part of their Disney vacation. Thanks for taking the time and have a great week.
Thank you. You too.
And that's a wrap this week on Let's Talk Diz. If anyone you know could benefit from this or any show, please share, have them like and subscribe. And don't forget to reach out to the folks at Easy Diz by Instant Impressions Travel Services for any Disney destination planning. Make it a great week. And as always, keep making memories.